Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com. Today we're going to take a look at the new 3-rail O-scale Norfolk & Western 2882 Y3 locomotive from Lionel. As I mentioned, the Y3 is a 2882 locomotive. That means that you've got 2 wheels up front, 8 drive wheels here, and then another 8 drive wheels back here, and then 2 wheels on the trailing truck. The Y3 is also what's called an articulated locomotive. That means that there are basically 2 engine units at work here on the same locomotive. You've got the rear engine here, which is fully attached to the rest of the locomotive, and then you've got the front engine, which turns independently of the locomotive. It turns on an articulation point, and that's why they call it an articulated locomotive. The Y3 was a USRA-approved locomotive design that began being built during the years surrounding the First World War. As many of you probably already know, the USRA was formed by the US government during World War I in order to get the railroads into a cohesive system that could keep up with the war demands. And part of that plan meant that the railroads were only allowed to build certain types of locomotives, and the Y3 was one of those types. It was based off the earlier Y2 locomotives, which started being built around 1909. A total of 106 of these engines were built. Most of these went to the Norfolk & Western, although they were also used by the B&O, the Clinchfield, and the Virginian. Now, during World War II, and due to wartime restraints, many of the existing Y3s were sold to other railroads. The number 2029 that you see here was one of those. It was originally with the N&W, and then it was sold to the Santa Fe in 1943, and then the Santa Fe later sold it to the Virginian Railway, where it served until being retired around 1955. Now, the cool thing is that Lionel has modeled all 3 versions, so you can get the N&W version that you see here, or the Santa Fe or Virginian versions. And they've also modeled the UP and Pennsylvania renditions as well. Now, this most recent version of the Y3 from Lionel was offered in their 2013 Volume 1 catalog, and then they started shipping these in late 2013. So let's go over some quick stats and facts on this engine. The overall length is 30 inches. The combined weight of the engine and the tender is 13 pounds 4 ounces. The pulling power of the engine is 2 pounds 6 ounces, not bad. And the minimum curve needed to operate this engine is 0.72. Under the hood, the engine is powered by one large flywheel motor. There's also a fan-driven smoke unit in the front of the engine, and then in the tender are the electronics packages for the Legacy control system, as well as Legacy rail sounds. There are 3 ways to operate this engine. The preferred method is to use Lionel's Legacy control system, because that will give you access to all of the engine's advanced features. However, you can also control the engine with Lionel's classic TMCC command system, or you can run the engine conventionally. This model has lots of nice details and features, so let's go in for a closer look. Starting off on the front of the engine, if we take a look at the pilot area, you can see some nice hand-painted detailing on the hose here. Nice step detail. There's a separately applied coupler cut bar with a little chain that goes down through a dummy scale coupler. And of course, if you want to double head the engine, you can swap that dummy scale coupler out for a dummy O-gauge coupler that's also packaged with the engine when you buy it. Moving back, the cylinders are very nicely done. There's safety tread up on the walkways here. There's an operating headlight in the middle with lighted number boards on either side. And then we've got these great looking metal grab irons and handrails all around. On the underside, you can see all of this great running gear, and it looks fantastic when the engine is in operation, and we've also got all of this nice detailing above it. The same is true of the other set of drivers. They look great. There's all this wonderful detailing up here and under the cab. The firebox is very well done, and this engine does come equipped with Lionel's variable ash pan glow effect, and the way that works is that when the engine turns on, there's a red glow down here in the ash pan, and as the engine gains speed, that red glow becomes more intense. Now let's check out the boiler. The front looks great. There are operating marker lights on either side, and we've also got separately applied metal grab irons as well. There's a little swinging bell up here with a metal lanyard that goes all the way back to the cab, and then the front of the boiler swings open like that. On either side of the boiler, we've got legible builder's plates, and if we look at this one, it says that this engine was built by the American Locomotive Company in Schenectady, New York, and it was built in June of 1919. We've also got these nice metal grab irons here and the handrails that run down either side of the boiler, and you can see some of the cast-in details on the side of the boiler as well. If we continue down the side of the boiler, we've got some nice separately applied detailing here as well as down here, and then some nice cast-in details here. And as you can see, the other side of the boiler looks great too. The exterior of the cab is well done. There's a little window here with a clear plastic insert in it, and there's one on the other side as well. The red window right here also has a clear plastic insert in it. There's good rivet detail all around and a couple separately applied metal grab irons. On the interior of the cab, there are two hand-painted crew figures, a number of hand-painted valves and gauges. There's an overhead light that turns off when the engine starts moving, and there's also a red glow in the firebox when the engine is in operation. Let's take a look at the top of the engine. Right here we've got the smokestack, and there is a fan-driven smoke unit inside. And of course, to load smoke fluid into the smoke unit, you simply pour the smoke fluid directly down the stack. Behind that we've got a nicely detailed sand dome for the first set of drivers, and then behind that we've got some nice add-on piping. Moving back, we've got the steam dome. There's a hand-painted whistle and pop-off valves here, and the whistle does have a metal lanyard attached to it that goes all the way back to the cab. So at this point, we've got two metal lanyards, one for the bell and one for the whistle. Behind that, we've got some nice add-on details here, and then the sand dome for the second set of drivers. As we move back toward the cab, we've got several separately applied pieces here and a hand-painted valve right there. And then on top of the roof, there are two vents that open up like that. Here's a look at the back of the engine. You can see some of the interior in the cab, some of those hand-painted valves and gauges and so forth. There are two separately applied metal grab irons here, two more windows with clear plastic inserts in them, and then down here we've got the drawbar with the wireless infrared sensor that allows the engine to communicate with the electronics in the tender. Here's a look at the underside of the engine. There are 4 pickup rollers, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 2 traction tires on the last set of drivers for each group of drivers, so we've got a total of 4 traction tires. And then right here and on the other side over here are the control switches for the engine. There's the Legacy Run program switch, the smoke unit on-off switch, and then the Odyssey speed control on-off switch. And as I've said before with previous engines, the fact that these switches are on the underside of the engine means that this is most likely an older tooling that Lionel has reused. That takes care of the engine. Now let's take a look at the tender. Starting at the bottom, we've got die-cast metal side frames on the trucks. We've got some nice steps on either end and some decent cast-in details as well. The rivet detailing is great all over the tender, and then on both sides we've got this nice crisp Norfolk and Western logo. On the front end of the tender, there are some nice cast-in details, including a cast-in coal load right here. There are separately applied metal grab irons on either side, and then down here we've got the drawbar with the other infrared sensor that allows the electronics in the tender to communicate with the engine. Here's a look at the back end of the tender. There are separately applied metal grab irons all over the place, a nice metal ladder right here, an operating backup light here, and then we've got a separately applied coupler cut bar down here, and then of course this is the electro coupler that can be thrown from the Legacy remote. Let's take a look at the top of the tender. Back here we've got a real coal load, and sometimes people ask me what that means. Well, it means exactly that. These are bits of real coal that they add up here to enhance the look of the tender, because we all know that real coal looks a lot better than fake coal. We've got a metal handrail that goes all the way around down here. Then we've got the doghouse that provides shelter to the brakeman, and there is a hand-painted brakeman figure in there. There's also a light that illuminates the interior of the doghouse when the engine is in operation. If we lift up this lid here, or lids, there are 2 controls in here. One is the master volume control for the engine, and the other is a switch that allows us to turn the light that's inside the doghouse on or off as we choose. Here's a look at the underside of the tender. There are 2 pickup rollers, 1 per truck. There are 2 high-quality speakers right here for that great full Lionel sound. We've got some separately applied detailing right here. And then on this truck, we've got the infrared sensor that Lionel puts on the bottom of all of their high-end engines, and that will be used to communicate with the new LCS sensor track that Lionel is coming out with. Okay, the last thing we're going to do before we start this thing up is BF IMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, in my opinion, the best feature on the N&W Y3 that I have here is the little doghouse on the tender. I think the doghouse is a really cool feature. I've only got one other engine in my collection with a doghouse, and it's a Penske steamer. And coincidentally, the Penske version of the 2882 that Lionel also made also has the doghouse. It's really well done. It's got a little figure inside. It lights up when the engine is in operation. And I just think it adds a lot of character to the engine. So in this case, my favorite feature of the N&W Y3 at least is the doghouse on the tender. Okay, now comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and start this engine up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? Roger that, dispatcher. I read you. Over. Very good. Start up and hold. Copy that. Let's get to work. Out.
Okay, first up, let's hear the whistle. And now let's give a listen to the bell. Here's the sound effect for the tender being loaded up with water.
My water's full. Acknowledged. Out.
And here's the cylinder steam sound. And last but not least, let's give a listen to some of the always controversial crew talk sounds. Some people hate them, some people like them. I happen to like them. I think they're a lot of fun. But if you don't like them, you don't have to use them.
Dispatcher, my engine's ready. Can I pull? Over. Roger, your track is clear. Dispatcher, over. I copy. Thanks, dispatcher. Out. Dispatcher here. Take the green. Over. Copy that. I'm wearing the green. Out. Air test complete, dispatcher. Am I clear to move? Over. Negative. Stand by. Over. I copy, dispatcher. Out. This is the dispatcher. Please stand by. Over. We're running late, dispatcher. Can I get a green light? Over. Dispatcher here. Please stand by. Over. Understood. We're waiting. Out.
Okay, it's time to roll it out. Now, I don't have a Norfolk and Western caboose in my collection right now. So for right now, I'm going to be using a Norfolk Southern caboose. Okay, that about wraps it up for this review. This is a great engine, and I'm happy to finally add my first N&W steam engine to my roster. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, the retail price is right at $1,350, although if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a decent discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at www.legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model or any other O-Gauge trains and to meet other O-Gauge modelers, check out the O-Gauge Railroading Magazine online forum at ogrforum.ogaugerr.com. Let's take a look at the top of the engine. Right here we've got the smokestack, and there is a fan-driven smoke unit inside. And of course, to load smoke fluid